Hello and welcome to our bonus episode for the month of June. I think it's going to come out in July, but that doesn't matter. we're recording this in June, though. That's all that matters. We made this in June.
Let's not talk about what day in June, but we made it in June.
Yes. But it's our little lie, I guess, to our Patreon fans.
Our lie in June.
So, friend A, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I was taken against my will on a journey back into anime, and a lot of it was familiar, but there were some new things about this show I actually appreciated. So we're talking about the show Your Lie in April.
Yes, very interesting thing.
Centers around a lot of piano playing, a lot of just like general. What's up?
Well, no, I was just saying very different than the anime that maybe you've delved in the past, if anything. Have you ever done an anime like this before? Have you? What is your anime experience? Would you say is it more like
let me bring out my
punchy fight?
punchy fight.
I'm gonna fix my light here. Hold on. There we go.
A lot of those. A lot of Dragon Ball Z. Crayon Shin-chan, more just because it was silly and stupid. I liked we talked at length about Fooly Cooly.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like that's I probably a little bit closer to this style of animation, I guess.
Yeah, I mean this is more
like
modern
anime. It's not like amazing animation. It's not like terrible. It's like it's good.
Yep.
It does what it's supposed to do. It's soap opera. It's exactly why you like anime, I think, is for its soap opera quality.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
They really do have the cliffhanger thing down to a pretty good science. But the biggest complaint I have about it, and I don't really have many complaints. The biggest complaint is that it does what every anime does, and that it takes so goddamn long for anything to happen.
But you have to set the scene. You have to have those inner monologues that last half of the episode. Come on, it's like it's required. You need to understand what they're feeling, Paul, and what they're thinking, and why it takes so goddamn long for them to figure it out. You need to go through that.
As I'm reminded many times throughout the series, they're in junior high. And things are different when you're in junior high, and the way you act and the way you know.
Yep.
One of the first lines in the show is, "Oh god, this is why I need my list." Tsubaki, like hits Kosei, and he was like, "Shape up! You're only in junior high. You were supposed to be happy." Like. It's like, okay, I get it. You're in junior high. Jeez.
So to back up a little bit here, Your Lie in April is what they call a slice of life anime, I guess. I mean, sort of slice of life. There's a little bit
weird lives.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's meant to take place in the real world. That's kind of the slice of lifeness, but this is, I guess, more. I don't know the genre. There's different genres, but I always consider this one more slice of life, but a little more in the drama-esque. Drama feel, but you're right. It's one of those shorter ones, so it's only 24 episodes. So how they release this, though, obviously I had to watch this week by week. You just got the loveliness of binging. We'll talk about your ad experience in a little bit, probably.
Oh, yeah.
But it was pretty much 2 seasons, so then you'd have 12 episodes. Then there'd be kind of a few months of a break. and then you'll see like it's sort of the story kind of shifts a little bit. You'll notice that like halfway through the season, there's
Yeah.
a different intro too. You'll notice the intro change,
Yep.
which I know you love the original intro. I don't think you've ever watched it again.
I was like, well, all right, let's talk about. I was watching this originally on Crunchyroll through their app, and because it's the free Crunchyroll, there are ads every 30 seconds. It feels, and it's like 4 or 5 ads in a row, all the same 30-second ad over and over
Yep.
and over again.
The best
I mean,
strategy.
I got up and did things during the ads, but like it would be like 5 minutes, and then it's like another one. I'm like, I've run out of things to do. I would play the Switch, or I'd play on my phone. I would just then I found myself working while this was playing in the background. But anyway, yeah. So it was very frustrating to watch the intro video the first time. I was like, that wasn't even part of the show. Like I was so pissed. It was like,
But I have to say,
never-
I remember like because I went to be back to rewatch a few of these episodes. I didn't get a chance to rewatch every one, but I remember like watching the intro first time. I don't even think you had started watching it yet, and I'm just like, oh god, I wonder what Paul's gonna think of this intro. I completely forgot about this intro. The
I
intro,
was describing it to you.
the intro. I mean, the intro, like what you want to describe, it's like your typical like, here's all the characters doing random things. You know, it's like I'm sitting in my bed and I am. Yeah, I am standing looking cool playing sports. And
Yeah. I will say though, I will give the intro a little bit of credit. I actually watched a video today of a guy who broke down the intro and was actually saying a lot of what's in the show is there in that original intro.
mhm.
Like there are hints that Kaori actually really likes Kosei, and
Good
that
job.
yeah, you see,
Yeah,
it?
you
Yeah, I
gotta-
didn't even look at my notes. And that
or Arima,
and that
or
she might
Arima.
already yeah, and that she might already be dead, or like she like alluding to her death already. So spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen this show. She dies hero. Don't worry, she dies in the end.
Dice Hero.
Um, but there's so okay.
What was that? What was that Armageddon? Was that Armageddon?
Yes, from my aunt watching Armageddon and telling us about it.
Dies
Don't
hero.
worry about Bruce Willis. He dies hero. So, so the story centers around. I'm just going to dive into the plot.
Sure,
a
go
bit.
ahead, go for it.
Kosei, which would be enough of a story on its own. His like traumatic childhood experience
Yeah,
being
it's intense.
a prodigy, playing playing the piano in these competitions, because he is being hounded basically by his and mentored, I guess, by his mother to play and become like the best. It's like she's living out her fantasy because she's dying of a terminal illness
Mm-hmm.
that we don't really know what it is either.
Mm-hmm.
She's dying of another plot convenient illness.
You don't need to know that. It's from the perspective of a child. That's the thing that makes
Yes.
these, and that's the thing I'm going to segue in though. That's the thing how these shows kind of work. Yes, they're in junior high. Yes, it's silly that they're dealing with these traumatic things at the junior high, because I don't remember having any of these problems as a child. But like, I think that's sort of what makes it work, because you're watching it from the perspective of a child, so you don't need to know all the other baggage. Because yeah, that perspective, that peripheral vision that the junior high school student has. You know, the junior high school student, they've
got the blinders on. They can't
Yeah,
see,
so
they
they
can't
don't-
remember disease names.
Yeah, they
and
don't.
everything.
It's like we're parents now, so it's like we don't get like what their parents are thinking or going through with this terminal illness. They're not going to tell you what the terminal illness is. You know, they're not going to say, "Well, your mother has this." Da, 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 da. You
I
know,
don't think she would have told him either. I don't think she would have told him. She's
Well,
a
no.
real bitch. I
Well,
really just like.
I mean,
She slapped him because even though he won a competition, he didn't, in her opinion, earn it. Right? Like it was like it wasn't deserved. I believe.
so that's the perspective of the first half of the show, right? But then you start learning more about her later. And I get, like, she had this moment of weakness. She had a really horrible experience with her son. And yeah, whether or not I'll sit here all day, that's horrible, but she was dying. I guess, you could have this. She seemed like a really great mother up until that point. It's just his perspective of her, kind of was traumatized by the experience, right? You learn that through the show. So that's like the first half of the series is him dealing with that trauma, dealing with that. Would he passed away when I guess he was like 7, 6. I don't know. The way they
Yeah.
handle children in anime is so weird. You know, it's like 5-year-old.
It's really only like 5 years from when he's like this tall to when he's like that tall.
Yeah.
And but I mean, I mean that's fair. That's fair. I will concede that point. That yes, I mean, especially in the second part, you know, you kind of learn more about it in that way. I'm still kind of like, it's still kind of weird because she is, I mean, living vicariously through him,
Sure.
which isn't, you know, it's not cool, but
But
you know,
there's a moment that they show, like when he plays his, like, okay, so we can get to that. We'll jump ahead. So like eventually he learns to play. He gets to start to play again. I guess we didn't talk about that yet. So he sort of has given up.
like a block.
Yes, and that's the thing about the show. I think that hooked me when you start learning about that block, and like the fact that he can't hear the notes, and he just sort of like he just plays out of memory, and it sort of has this like kind of thematic sort of message on what music really is. Is it about the notes in the page? Is it about playing it the right way or playing it how you want to play it? And I think that's a theme throughout the entire, you know, series is that message, which
That kind of like spirit of music, right? Like how much of yourself do you put into the piece, or are you just going to play it exactly as it's written? I in doing the research for this, not only like watching the videos for this, I watched some performances by like actual concert pianists of this, and I stumbled upon this guy who was actually giving a class to a concert pianist on how to play one of the Chopin pieces that they play on the show, and how, and I don't, you might remember, I think it was one of the side characters there. It was Takeshi. Takeshi played this like really powerful piece.
That with the big hair, the crazy hair.
Yeah, with the anime hair. Yes, I was gonna say they had to have somebody with spiky blonde hair. Show.
He's such a funny guy though, because he's like so like nice on the stage, but then when he walks around, he's wearing like rock T-shirts and like looks like some.
He's the Vegeta of the show. He eventually does turn good in the end, right? He eventually like looks up to Kusei as like kind of his hero. But I think it was that piece. And hearing the like master pianist kind of like teaching somebody who is already a professional to like, you know, play from the heart. Like how do you play to an audience? How do you like turn the music into something more that's on the page and make the audience kind of like react in a different way to you playing it than them just like listening to a machine kind of, you know, do the notes.
Yep.
That's I think the thing I appreciated the most about this was they were talking about music in I guess no other anime show I've seen, and not a lot of shows that have musicians in them talk about music like in the style of the performance itself. It's not about like learning to play that good, even though some of it is. Like they have Takeshi and his sister and Emmy, the other one, right?
Emmy, yeah.
Once we got into the side characters, that was like I was like, why are we doing this? I'm like, I'm focused over here. Why are you bringing me over here?
Second season, you got to bring new characters in,
right? Like, you need a guy with spiky hair.
But I like those side characters because I think it pushes him even more. Yes.
It just seems like everybody knew him as a child, but he doesn't remember.
I know. Well, let's go back. We're forgetting.
When I was 7 and you were 8.
We're forgetting like the main character, the main and important side character, or all the other important side characters. So obviously at the beginning of the show, we're going to rewind. We do this every bonus episode. We're like, we'll start following the plot. And we just jump ahead. And this is the first time me and Paul have really been able a chance to talk about this at all. Like it's. Except for
getting the raw, unfiltered thoughts here.
Except for some cryptic messages of things. But like
all I told you the other day was, I know the lie. That was it. All right, go ahead. What are you saying here?
So the beginning is where he's sort of in that kind of this like bubble and stuff. So he has a neighbor that it's like your typical anime stereotype, especially in these type of shows. You always have that childhood friend that you grew up with over and over again. That's Tsubaki, and she like misses him playing the piano, wants him to play the piano, and like in a sense like it kind of drags him to go on like a blind date with their other friend. I can't remember his name.
Ryota.
Ryota. Okay.
Yeah.
And the player
Yeah.
But he goes there as friend A, and he's introduced to the other main character, which is Kaori. I think that's Kaori.
Kaori, like her Kaori's pain is inside me. It's Akira, man.
I know. I did not connect that at all.
That's how I remembered her name, because I just kept going Kaori.
Well, I remember her name because we were looking at Kairi, my daughter's name. I thought that her name was that initially, but like, and it's weird because it's like he has this weird sort of like, I wouldn't say obsession with her, but just confusion, I guess. And like she sort of just like sparks something in him to like, hey, let's go do some music together, because like she just drags him to a pretty much an event of music, and sort of just makes him remember like, I actually like doing this, but he has this sort of traumatic experience of like blocking him from actually going deep into the music itself. And I think that's where you start getting hooked, because a lot of those animes, I'll like start with the first few episodes, test it out, because I definitely watched this when it first came out on Crunchyroll, or when it was first in the season, because that's there's a lot of rotating anime, and I usually give it a few episodes like that college try to see if I like it or whatever. And that third episode, I think, is what got me. It was just like, oh, I'm gonna like this. I'm gonna go all the way in, and because I would watch it with Amber. So it's like, I think it's just something about the way they discuss music, describe music, and like I said, I brought this up as one of my favorite soundtracks in our soundtrack episode. And though I know it's not like anything like new, it's using like amazing works of art, but I just think how they just use that music and bring it into the show was really what struck me, I guess. I don't know.
They definitely chose really, really, like, they chose music that's challenging for pianists. Like it was definitely, it's not like they were just picking popular tunes. They were picking specifically, difficult concert pieces. Like it showed like the people that put the effort into the show really did their homework to kind of like get into that world of musical performance and like competitions, musical competitions. Like some of that stuff like kind of rang true, and I was kind of reminded of like speech and debate like competitions and things like that, like things you do like in high school or junior high. Like you put a lot of stress on yourself, and it's a lot of pressure to get it right, and sometimes it goes right and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, I appreciate the way that they use music in this, and to kind of like tell the story, but also like more specifically how to use music to deal with trauma. And like how trauma, like it it's weird. I was just playing Celeste, and the idea of like how to deal with like depression. And here is like this, here is this other version of yourself. And she kind of encounters different facets of her own personality. In a sense, Kosei is doing the same thing, where it's like meeting Kaori wasn't necessarily meeting the girl that he would love, but it was like meeting his own inner self that loved music, like somebody else that loved music in that way, and was like, I know you for who you are. Like, I know you like this stuff, and I know you want to do it. Like, and I'm going to get you to do it again. So it was like finding that person who could rekindle that love again, because it's not like his talent went anywhere, even when he was like playing under the ocean. When it gets bad, which is not a bad analogy. Like to think about like when you're struggling with something, to feel like you can't hear, you can't see, you're just like, you're focused, you're doing just basically on memory, as you said, like you're not like reading it, you're not enjoying it, you're not absorbing the experience, you're just kind of playing out of habit because I got to get to the end of this piece.
Yep.
Because that's what I'm up here to do.
You're drowning, hence the water, I guess, in that like kind of like pessimistic, I'm not going to do well, I'm failing, I'm not doing this right, and that stems from the messaging that he got later in his teachings from his mother, of how he had to be this robotic, what they used to call, they used to have a nickname for him, the metronome kid or something like that.
Yep, human metronome. Yeah.
Yeah, like so, like the fact of being so the perfectionist, where it's like the people that initially see him being a good pianist, when they first realized it was because he just had a knack for understanding the notes and making them sound right. He just that was a prodigy, not following the actual the right way to play, and that's where he started to struggle. And I think that's where he stops doing it. But obviously, he meets someone she's a violinist. We didn't really mention that. Who in the story goes to a recital and she just plays whatever the fuck she wants. I love how it's like when they say it's like she's taking control of Beethoven or something like that. It's like
that's what killed me is I'm like sitting there listening and enjoying the piece being played, and then there's like the typical like anime reactors, like the people that like they're just sitting there like she's doing this. Can you believe it? Like she's like going to level 36. Like
I love the like the anal judge guy. He's got the clipboard. He's like,
yeah,
he's like breaking his pencil, like really mad.
Yep. I love how like that part of it. I don't know. I didn't really care for it so much. Like listening to the judge's part, I feel like the audience is enough. But like and like there's already internal monologue of the characters as they're playing sometimes. So it's like
yeah.
A lot of just talking while they're playing, and I'm like, just let them play. Just let them play.
But I do like they have the two judges, so they have the one that's crazy, but the one's like, wow, this is actually pretty good. I was like, he was like bored the entire time, and he's like, you know what? I'm sorry, I gotta fail you still because you didn't do it right. But this was actually great. You shouldn't be doing this. You're way better than this. You're better than this event that we're in. Because Kaori was an amazing violinist. Because she that's the thing. She's the epitome of like she doesn't care if she messes up. She just goes out and does it. She's there to play for people. That's all music is. It's not win awards.
Take risks in for a performance instead of adhering to the material.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, isn't that what a good wouldn't you say? Isn't that like what a good remake is? It doesn't, or like an adaptation, like taking somebody else's work and turning it into something else. Like. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily have to be the exact words or the exact thing, but it's like how you interpret it, you know, in the here and now for people to listen to. No, I really liked the concert stuff of it, and I like the interpersonal relationships. Kind of, you know, they're pretty like straightforward. I guess they're pretty anime. You know,
yeah, it's stereotypical.
You have like the kind of like, you know. I think Tsubaki, right? Tsubaki.
You know, the girl next door.
She has feelings for Kosei, but she herself isn't completely sure about them.
Yep.
She dates somebody else for a little while to like kind of because as she sees Kaori and him getting closer, she's feeling left out, so she feels like she needs to do something. Mm-hmm. That's actually one of my favorite moment of the whole series when she comes and like sits in Kosei's place and he plays Claire de Lune for her. Mm-hmm. That's like one of my favorite songs, period. It's Claude Debussy from his I forget the whole suite, but Debussy is one of, and like Chopin I think could be included in there, like impressionistic musicians of that time where they're like kind of playing with a form. They're not doing Bach or Beethoven, like while Chopin and Debussy and Erik Satie as well at that time, they're like breaking all sorts of norms with music. And it's funny because it's like their music is what's transcended over time. Not as many people would play like Rachmaninoff or Beethoven, but you would see a lot of piano players play Chopin or Debussy. But that scene where he's playing Debussy for her while she's kind of like, you know, pouring her heart out, and he's like kind of playing it to her to like let her have like that cathartic moment and like let out her feelings. Mm-hmm. And of course she kicks him or punches him or something. That's every conversation.
That's normal anime. Well, if you want to talk about the first episode though, where you first introduced to him and her, it's like
just like. What, kicking soccer balls at his head?
The baseball goes into the window and it's like he hits him in the head and he's like bleeding on the floor.
Yeah, it's not like a bruise or something or like a scar. It's like there's blood coming down half of his head.
It's like a dead. Oh, it's a corpse. I have to leave. But no, I'm glad that you appreciate it. That's why I kind of picked this anime though, because I mean I could have gone so many different directions with anime, and I just wanted to pick something that I think you would have like some sort of. The music part, I knew you would love.
You got me with that because that's like a lot of it is stuff that I really really like, and because Tsubaki gets what's his name? The other guy, the other like team hero dude that she dates, he breaks up with her. and this is like his way of kind of comforting her. And it
Hmm.
was like he wouldn't have done that before, and Kaori like kind of pulled that part of his personality out. Like, this is how you can communicate with people.
Hmm.
This is how you can mend fences or mend relationships.
Hmm.
But just to give you an example, I wrote this down uh, because it really this like epitomized the show for me between Tsubaki and Kosei. I wrote, Tsubaki says that Kosei should fall in love with her instead. Then she kicks him in the shin and runs off in tears. That's pretty much the gist of her character arc.
Yeah. I mean, they're in junior high. I mean, what do you expect?
And poor Ryota, the dude who's actually dating Kaori,
Oh, I
he
know. For
knows
for
he
for.
knows that Kosei has a thing for her.
Yep.
And I think he also knows that Kaori has a thing for Kosei, and
They
he's
know.
just like, I'm
They,
here
they all do.
in
So,
the relationship, I guess.
but he's so busy with all these other girls. He's got, he's
Oh
got to
yeah,
deal
that's
with.
true. He's a
He's
player.
he's a
That's no
player.
good. No
Um,
good.
so I guess that leads to the second season a little bit, cause like so he finally plays because what happens in the end of the first season is she has to have an accompanist when she does her violin piece. So like you get like I love when you first meet her, like the accompanist is like struggling to keep up with her. It's hilarious.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But then she begs him to be one, which was kind of a funny anime thing where it's like they just bugged him every day and like put letters everywhere and notes and
Yep.
music notes and stuff.
She like finds him on the roof of his building or something, or the roof of the school, and is like, "You're doing it."
Yep.
Finally, he yeah.
But I think what finally he figures it out is that he messes up horribly during that accompaniment,
Mm-hmm.
but she's already disqualified. Whatever, she had already been disqualified anyway. She was just the crowd favorite, so she got to play again. And though she's just like, "Oh, we messed up. It's okay," and let's just do it again. And it was like I love the whole scene. It's just like him just sort of like all of a sudden figuring it out and not caring and. It's just a really, really awesome moment. And like I think you have a lot of those different moments in those performances. And that's why I kinda like when you get to the second season, the other like what side characters, I guess you call them, is I like hearing their backstories for some weird reason. It's just like kind of show a different perspective of like the losers, I guess, and what that does to musicians that drive a little bit. And it's a contrast to Kosei where how low he's become, I guess.
That's what I mean, because you're talking about the difference between a prodigy, somebody who just like naturally has that talent too.
Hmm.
And it's just about like honing and focusing that talent. And whereas I think it's Emi and
Takeshi.
and Nagi as well, Takeshi's little sister.
Hmm.
They all like idolize Kosei when they're young, and they have to like earn it the hard way. Like they work and they sacrifice things to try and be like him. Like that's how inspiring he was to them. Yeah, it was weird though to me. Like, okay, like here come a bunch of new characters. I'm like, I'm already having problems with these four, and I'm trying to understand their dynamic in the past. And I'm like, okay, yet another person who met him when he was a child. Yet another one, and then
Yep. And then they introduce a kind of another mother figure all of a sudden, like to
yes, the teacher there, Hiroko.
I can't remember her name.
Hold on, Hiroko.
Okay,
Hiroko.
because that was his because his mother was a teacher, a pianist teacher, and was teaching her. And I mean, she just became that mother figure because she felt guilty and about what happened with his mother. Which he comes to terms with that. Like I said, he kind of does his final goodbye and has the good memories of his mother. I think that was what holding it back. He kind of manifested this really evil looking, oh my god, like evil looking ghost, like ill doctor, like very sick person. But like there's some really intense scenes where it's like I think there's one shot where like it's like in her eye, like really close up of her eye, and he's just like weirded out in the thing. That's like
they make her out to be like kind of like a monster, and that was the only thing that I thought that this show lacked was giant monsters. I felt like you were really close, and like at any minute now, it would have been like, all right, I guess I'll be her accompanist.
I mean, did you
watch?
watch? Did you watch?
Flying up into his Gundam, and then like,
did you watch the movie? You didn't watch the movie?
The movie?
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I saw that there was like a live action
Yeah,
version,
there's a
a
live
live
action
action
thing.
movie.
They do that a lot. I didn't watch that though. See, but I feel like that it never works out. Like for some reason, these types of stories, though they could be done in real life because it is a realistic thing, but there's just something about the animated imagery and how they move, like in animation, where I think if you saw a person moving that way, it wouldn't come off right.
Doesn't make sense.
You know,
Doesn't
it's
make
like
sense.
yeah,
Nobody just like.
but
For what?
it's like you get a different sense of expression when they're playing. Like I mean, even Emmy, like you know, 'cause she's very like aggressive when she plays. It's like she just has this animated sense. Even though there's not a lot of animation going on, it's just how they animate sweat and tears and like just like it's just normal
Yes,
anime.
like rivers of tears coming down. And you know what? Like it's. I think of it like or you could describe it like opera, I guess, in that it's like a exaggeration, just like a 10% or like 50% exaggeration of all emotion.
Hmm.
So like if you're concerned about something, you're like like
Yeah.
like you're actually physically showing concern
Yep. Yeah.
instead of just like furrowing your brows. It's like and like a big sweat drop next to me. So there is this. I mean, like I know that part of it's also like related to kabuki, and like you have like this style of theater that like displays emotion in kind of an exaggerated way sometimes,
Yes.
or like in a playful way. It's hard. One thing I don't want to say like I don't like anime because it's bad. It's not that I don't like it or appreciate it. It's that I'm not used to the same cultural tropes
Yeah.
as somebody who's watching anime regularly or just somebody who lives in Japan or understands Japanese culture.
Sure.
So like some of the stuff I pick up on pretty easy, like, oh, okay, that's just a typical, like when someone is frustrated, they do that. And nobody actually does that in real life, but that's like a comical thing that's because stuff that happens in like DBZ or Crayon Shin-chan or Fooly Cooly or this, there are still like some kind of like base universal like
there's a language
they're all looking for.
there is an anime language, you know, like
Yeah.
and I think once you start when you go down that rabbit hole of anime like I have and you watch it, you start watching like the different genres of anime because there's just so many different ways to go. You can go horror, you know, sci-fi. There's so many. It's not just Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon, right? It's just so many different ways you can go. And there's a lot of good anime that I think you would even appreciate. I mean, not that I'm making you going to watch more, but I'm just saying there's some really good stories to be told in an anime. It's just you have to understand the language sometimes to appreciate them, because there is a sense of like you watch it, yeah, they have these long drawn out stare things, but like when you've gone through it enough times, it's like you kind of you start getting the rhythm, and it's like almost like a feeling and a vibe, and almost like comfort food when you run into that, because you're so used to seeing it across different other shows, and so you almost start understanding even more what they're trying to say because you've gone through enough of them.
I'm curious to like I want to make you watch a soap opera now, like a modern soap opera, and I want you to see like if anything resonates with you, or if you're like, "Oh, this was weird," like because if you're like so used to like one like toolkit, one like toolbox of using, for storytelling.
I mean, if they're not showing me the perspective of me crying, like the shot of me looking down and crying, I'm not gonna understand. Yeah, I'm not gonna understand it. You know, looking through the glasses, looking through the rim of your glasses, and tears coming down.
What's wrong? Like, I know that there's an eye back there. You don't have to prove it to me. Like, why do they like just because you're looking at somebody at the side, like, oh, I better erase this part so you can see his eyes. Well, that's an anime thing. Gotta have big eyes. Gotta have blue hair.
Yeah.
I mean.
But yeah, the other things about this show too that's very like anime across the board. The thing I never understood with any anime, to be honest, and I think it's just a cultural thing, is that like you'll notice like all these children have been introduced to Kosei at some point in the concert, right? And they're all by themselves, just going to a random concert.
Yeah, even the girls at the beginning that like bring Kaori flowers at the end of her performance. I'm like, where are their parents?
Yeah. I don't know.
We came all the way over here. We went and bought flowers and brought them back. And it's like, who bought them for you?
But
You're like
that's the
4 and
thing.
5.
That's the thing. It could be just a perspective again, that peripheral vision. The parents are just standing over there in the corner, like, "Oh, isn't that cute?" Taking pictures in the background.
That I do buy. It's like,
Yeah, it's
the junior high, the junior high school student isn't really paying attention to what the parents are doing.
Yeah.
They're just like listening to what the kids are saying.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah, I mean that's how I've always looked at it. But like, but no, it gets, and then obviously, I mean, you get later in the season, and you can kind of fill in the gaps. But obviously, it starts, you learn a little bit more about Kaori and where that heads. And I feel so bad for Akose. He's got the worst, like, what, 4-year win, 4-year window of his life, or 5-year window.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, so as I was trying to figure out what she died of, somebody had just written she died of melodrama, and I was like, yeah, that's it. Like, she died because it's important to the story for her to die, because it's not really about her.
Mm-mm.
She's, in a sad way, it's kind of like saying she's a tool, but she's like, she is the person that brings, that not only like teaches Kosei like how to use how to play the piano again. Like, that's on the surface what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
but it's how to process trauma.
Yep.
And it's like, get ready, because it's going to happen again. So you better like put those skills to the test. So she finds him and basically like builds him back up and says like, okay, now it's going to happen again, but you're not going to let it affect you like it did the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, yes, I've learned, I've grown, I kind of understand.
Did you think she was going to live, or did you had a feeling already she was going to die?
No, I knew she was. Like from the title itself, like Your Lie in April, I had an idea that it was going to be like, it wasn't so much a lie, but it was like the secret of her keeping a terminal illness away from her friends, like not telling them. Like, I get in like the lie part, like when the
lie in the letter is different. Yeah.
Have you ever has anything like this happened to you? Because she starts collapsing. Like, the first time it happens is after that performance where he is her accompanist the first time. She like kind of wakes up, like they say like, has anything happened? And she's like, no, this has never happened before. And then like later on, she's like sitting in the hospital and is like, she like sighs and is like, so you passed out again. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so like she's keeping something from them. So when it says like Your Lie in April, I just assumed that the lie was connected to the illness. Can we talk about the lie now?
I mean, that's probably what it is, but like she's also kind of trying to be
I think the
positive.
lie is something else. The lie is,
well, she says what the lie is in the end in the letter. I mean, that's her writing a letter to be her normal self, being kind of silly. But yeah, it is. I made a lie so I can meet you. Yes. What is the lie, Paul? Go ahead, give away the lie.
Well, now you have me doubting if I had the lie wrong. No, I thought the lie. No, you say what the lie is then.
The lie.
Go ahead.
All the lie is that she said that she likes what's his friend. That's the lie.
Oh, Ryota. Oh, okay. So at any point she could have just said like, actually, I don't like Ryota. I really like you, and this is why I'm helping you so much. Like, we could also be in love, and I can help you. Why doesn't she do that?
Maybe because she knew. Maybe she knew. She knew that it wasn't her place to do that. And I think I
Act on her feelings?
I just rewatched the last episode, and and I think she says a point. I watched the dub version, so maybe that helped me understand it. But she's like, didn't want to overstep because she could tell what Tsubaki liked him, so she didn't know the time or place to actually make that jump. And then all of a sudden she fell ill. So I think that was maybe timing. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, and you kind of like learn that she's been like through Tsubaki and Ryota just trying to get closer to him. Which is like, I guess like the running gag of this show is that all these things are happening around Kosei and he has no idea. Like, all these people are admiring him, considering him a rival, competing with him, falling in love with him, and he's not even there.
Typical anime protagonists, though, very oblivious to what's going on.
Just oblivious to everything. I forget which episode it's in. It's like he kind of like makes up with Emi and Takeshi.
Yeah.
He
Well,
gives them part of his sandwich, or gives them like his egg sandwich.
he's just like super nice
then,
to them, and they're just like,
yeah, they're
I
like,
think they're just
oh,
kind of like baffled by it a little bit. Like, why is he being so nice? We're rivals.
because
Like,
they were in this like competitive mode, and then
because
yeah,
he
I
doesn't
just love
even
that it
know.
was an egg salad sandwich that did it. It was just like, hey, you guys want a sandwich? And they're like, why is our rival talking with us? And he's like, nice to meet you.
Well, because
Like, he has no idea who they
isn't like in the past though? Like, didn't they try to become friends with him in the past? And like, he just like is
Oh,
so.
he just ignored them. Yeah,
Yeah.
because he was a kid and he's like focused. He's the child
I got to do this for
prodigy.
mom. I got to make mom better. I got to make her. I got to heal her.
So all that stuff from like the first season, I guess, the first half of this, where you see him like walking out of the competition, or like clutching sheet music and like crying and walking between people. Those are the moments where people are like trying to talk to him and like build relationships, and like get to know him, and he's just ignoring it all because he's so focused and
Yeah.
pinpointed on
It is crazy though, like
my mother's life.
because of how good he was in that moment when he was like 6 or 7, which is so funny to me. That like people still remember him the second he goes on stage. It's like they haven't forgotten. He's put this impact in so many people. It's like I remember like I was rewatching one of the scenes where when they watch him play again for the first time. Like his rivals are like in the stands. Like, okay, he's gonna play. What's happened to him? And like what the teacher of Emmy is like. I heard a rumor that he can't hear the notes anymore. It's like, where is this gossip train?
Where is this music?
Like, where do they find this out from? Because he lives by himself. His dad just like works somewhere. He's like, yeah, he'll be home in a few months.
Yeah, his contract will be up in a couple months. He's like, do you know that? He's like, no, I don't. Okay, all right. You're like 14 and living alone.
It's a normal anime thing. I don't know. It must be a Japanese cultural thing. I don't quite know.
I guess.
It's like I think it's the same.
Is it like boarding school kind of thing? Like
I think it's similar to like it's a thing that
like private quarters.
Yeah, it's a thing that maybe, and I don't know for sure, but I think it's like maybe it's a thing that does happen in Japan. Maybe it's not happening very often, but it's similar to like Disney handling parents, right? You have to kill one of them off, so you don't have to really worry about the other one. So they're just like, well, they decide not to kill them off. They will like kill one of them off, and the other one, we'll just get rid of both parents. We'll just won't deal with that baggage. We'll just send the dad to work. And
What does he even say about his dad, or like, what does his dad even think about him in all of this?
I don't know, he's not really part of the story. It's so weird.
No.
It's like
This is a junior high love affair, though. Like the whole thing, it really is just like kind of myopic and just like focused on a few people and a few things.
And really, what is this? Like only like 3 or 4 months of time, the whole show.
The whole arc, yeah, I guess so.
Because it's all through April. Like it's I mean all through spring in a sense. So
into the winter because it's snowing. I think towards the end. Now I forget.
It is snowing, but I think that was like a rare thing that it snowed. But yeah, no, I hope overall that you appreciated it. Though I was nervous when I first showed you this anime because I didn't know which one to give you. But I hope at least for the most part.
I was nervous too, and like you said, like it definitely has a lot of the same anime tropes, but it was a lot of fun. Like I really appreciate the kind of music that they picked for it and the way that they talk about music and treat it in this. It's not just like music is a background part of it. No, it's like music is central to understanding this, and specifically people who have like performed music would understand it and like get something out of this. Like that same kind of anxiety. Like it made me like remember like even in college or even in like high school or junior high, like getting in doing like a concert or something, but more like in college I was remembering those like performances where I really like you really feel the pressure because it's like everything is like kind of stepped up a notch. You played in college too, right? Didn't you?
Yeah,
I
did a few solos here and there. You know, there's a sense. I mean, I never did a on stage solo piece like pianoist, but I was with a group. But I did like have solo improv things that I had to do, and I think the improv is why I liked it though, because no one knew what I was supposed to play. So You
just
know,
kind of do it.
yeah. So I mean, no, I got that for sure. I'm glad. I'm appreciative that you understood all the. I mean, I knew some of the names. Honestly, this taught me something. I never knew that Twinkle Twinkle Little Star was made by Mozart.
Right?
Completely didn't know
No,
that.
it's one of those things. It's like it's just such a part of the fabric of music culture. You don't even know like, oh, this was written by somebody.
Yeah, so it's like
It
that's
made me,
cool.
you know what? It actually made me, you saying that, like I've always wondered who wrote the Happy Birthday song. I know somebody had to have. Like it's not
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
who
that's
wrote
right.
it. I want to know. But yeah, that was the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star was the first. Was that the first one that Cowrie made him play?
Well, I
He
mean,
made him play it in a
yeah,
cafe, and like it gets
they
like
saw some kids that were like trying to play the
yeah,
piano, so he played it.
yeah.
But no, it's just there's just something about the way, and you talk about the end of it, just to kind of I guess cap it off because he goes through this journey of
Mhm.
overcoming trauma, and like he you think he gets out of it, but he starts falling back again. Like he has a moment of weakness when he learns about Kaori getting sick, but like
Yep.
I think he did so much, and she's the reason that he can still do it. Like he almost fails in his final performance, I guess,
Hmm.
and he like just remembers like let's do this again. Let's do this for her. Like I'm playing for her. Let me get it to reach you.
Yep. Yeah,
That's such
like reach her. He keeps like saying, and he's like trying to connect with her. And in that moment, like I read a lot of. Well, you know what? I watched the last scene again earlier today,
mm,
and the comments on YouTube were like so glowing. These were like big fans. One person had said like, when you die, there is actually 7 minutes of brain activity after your body is like dead, but
mm,
the brain is still working. I believe that Kaori reached Kosei in that 7 minutes after her body had died, and they were connected. And I was
yep.
like, okay,
But
all right,
visually though, like aside from like the
That-
people going a little like long reach, but like visually, I just love that moment. Like he just sort of like me. Granted, I know it's an anime, and it's funny because I was watching these scenes today, and Callisto was kind of watching me from behind, over the shoulder.
mhm.
I was watching in Japanese, so she had no idea what they're saying. And she's like, "Why? Why is it jumping? Like, why is he a kid? Why is he this? Like, why are there sunflowers? Why is he crying? Why are there
Sit down,
stars?"
honey. I got a lot to explain to you about anime.
But just the moment, like him, like all of a sudden her joining and doing the duet together, and her like kind of
Mhm.
this image of Kyrie, and then her leaving is just like it. Like I remember when I first watched it with Amber, and I think it like hit me that music itself just has an impact on me like that. If it's like it has that sort of
Mhm.
like, especially as I get older, it's music just like stupid commercials get me sometimes, and of course this, you know.
I'm I'm glad that like classical music is like if this gets people to listen to classical music, then I'm all for this.
Hmm.
If it gets people to appreciate, the emotion behind that music. I'm a sucker for it too. I will listen like Claire de Lune always gets me. Like I can't not listen to it and feel emotional. Like that's like a lot of that kind of music that they chose for the show. I think they chose really
Hmm.
wisely and was like really perfect for that. And you see like they even have like what's it them playing the duet, the piano for four hands, right? So like the two people sitting at the same piano
Yep.
playing, which is always interesting to see. But like you see Kosei kind of like you see the future for him a little bit because there's these people that admire him and that he can actually teach,
Hmm.
and like he can kind of like mentor himself.
Hmm.
uh, he's starting to like he's starting to see those people around him, whereas before it was just so focused on like the mission and get
Yeah.
in and get out. And now Kaori is kind of like pulled back those blinders so he can kind of see like, oh, well, this person who's been following me and is in every one of my performances, they're actually pretty good. Like I could help them be better if I
Hmm.
wanted to.
Yeah.
So
Versus like
like
what he doing in the beginning of the show was just like I thought it was funny that he's like just what like doing like notations of pop songs or something like that. Like
mhm,
he's just
mhm.
like doing like I don't know what he
Just
was. It
writing.
was like a part time
He,
job.
he, yep, just writing music, just like actually transcribing it. Yeah.
But no, I think it's a good show. I've always like everyone since I watched it. I think it came out 4 years ago. I occasionally will just have I'll just like put like because they have all the music in like a YouTube thing, and I'll just sit there and listen to it. You know, and I just granted I know it's just classical music, but they just put this spin on it, and they just talk about it in a way that just makes you appreciate it even more. And I don't know, I really enjoyed it.
I feel like there's hope for the future if you can get junior high school students to appreciate Chopin and Debussy.
Only in Japan. Only in Japan, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's here too. But again, it's like a very like small amount of people. Wish there were more. But no, man, I would recommend this. Like I said, lacking in giant robots and monsters, but it makes up for it in heart and musical choice. So I give it a thumbs up.
Awesome. I appreciate it. What about the cat?
You chose well. That fucking cat.
No, behind you. What did the cat say?
Oh! I thought you were talking about the cat from the show. I thought black cats were like good luck in Japan. It seems like a nefarious cat in this show.
I think it's supposed to represent Kaori in the end or something. I don't know. I think it's just symbolic.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Because she meets her, that's the first thing she does is see the cat. And then at the end, he sees the cat.
Yep.
Not quite sure what that means. I'm sure there's a reference there somewhere. Could be that one of those anime things.
Could be a cultural thing we're missing altogether. But no, I would highly recommend this show.
Awesome.
Thank you for choosing this one. Of the anime you could have chosen, I appreciate that you chose this one.
No.
What was there? Were there any others that you were considering?
Well, I mean, there's longer ones that I could have gone with. I thought this was a good amount of time spent.
Yeah,
I know there was like long moments, but like it was at least 24 episodes of long moments, not like 100 episodes of long moments.
Of it, yeah.
And there's some weird ones that I watched too. Like I thought this was a good representation of why I like anime. It has a very good story, has some really good themes on it. It's not over the top, and it's not like about like boobs and sex jokes all the time.
Nobody playing that. What was it? The
Keijo
bumping game.
Yeah, Keijo, which I watch a lot of those too. But like I do appreciate these some. Once in a while, these are really good ones to kind of dive into and it's just a good. I don't know. It's just something about these sad stories but it seems positive at the same time. They have like a sense of positivity around it. It's not like so much drama, and I like that kind of weird anime humor kind of thrown in there to kind of pull away from the sadness, I guess.
Seriousness of it.
Yeah, I know. It's like her like Tabaki kicking people and when they go in the chibi mode once in a while, when they do like silly things, because Kaori, she goes like crazy and like looks angry and nuts and whatever, but like that just sort of like pulls you out of this like hole of just that he's in, right? And it's almost that's why I like anime, because it kind of like gives you a really good story, kind of talks about some really deep stuff, but then you can kind of have fun with it at the same time. So
I would appreciate that. Grave of the Fireflies would be very different if there were chibi moments in it.
Oh my god!
It would not be the classic. So it's important to have that kind of like level of humor and kind of playfulness in these kinds of things, because it is like kind of a soap opera. It is light material, but it could still be good. It doesn't necessarily have to make you bawl at the end, or keep you in tears throughout. It can still like pull at your emotional, at your heartstrings.
Yeah, it still moves you, especially using music,
still entertain you and not make you feel like you've got this weight on your shoulders because you're thinking about Kosei and his mother.
Oh my god! I gotta say though, I know you don't like Kosei's mom, but like she at the point when she's dying,
the demon.
She's like, what does she say? She says like, I just wanted to make sure he had a job. I wanted to make sure he had he could make
a living.
She was just so concerned for him. I think that's why she just tried too hard in the end to do everything she could, because she knew she was out of time. And I think. I think if she didn't get sick, I don't think she would have been. It just shows like how people can change, and then the perception children have of that, and they might miss things. I mean, they just remember that horrible, horrible moment of getting hit and whatnot, and probably bleeding more than he actually does in an actual real person would get. Yeah, like the little kid was just like blood all over his face.
He's very prone to accident, that kid.
But I like how they call out on it though. Like this, they do call out on her act, and she even like says, "I can't believe I did this, but I have to make him be this. I have to make him better." And whether I don't know if she was living through him vicariously, I just think she just felt like she didn't know what else to give him before she left, and so she just wanted to give him his everything she could, because before that, like she was just teaching him to have fun with the piano. It was never really any drive there until she got sick. So I mean, I think. And maybe that's what he finally sees in the end. But
so you could make a case that illness also changes people like this. Like when people find out that there's, possibly a finite amount of time, change Kaori.
But that's the contrast, right? That's the contrast.
Mm-hmm.
It changed Kaori for the better versus her mother, and then that shows the difference of getting sick at different ages. And she's like, I'm going to live my life to the fullest. Where his mother, like, I'm going to do as much I can to help his life. But maybe you know what I mean?
I mean, that's the difference between, like, I don't know if it's necessarily just age, whatever, like, it's like a parent and a non-parent.
Yeah.
A parent will think, like, I have to, if I only have this much time, how much can I devote to my children in the end? Whereas, like, if you're young and you have parents, but you're just kind of like your whole life's ahead of you, but now it's going to be cut short. It's like, well, I'm going to do all I can for myself. In this time, so it's very different. But in a sense, Kaori wasn't really doing it for herself so much. She did want to get close to him, but it was more to kind of heal him and help him deal with that and get past it.
Sure.
No, I'd say there's a lot of layers here. This is definitely a good discussion. Much more fun than I initially thought after the first episode. I was like, oh my god, like, what am I gonna do?
Those ads, man, I think it ruined everything for you.
Yeah, once I found out that and if anybody's interested in watching this, they should on Netflix, because you can watch it ad free.
Yes.
And there's a button that says skip intro, which is so good.
And the second intro is better. The second intro is a little better. It's not as weird.
They're all anime intros.
Sure. But I appreciate you talking about this with me today, Paul. We'll get this out in July.
In July, yeah, early July.
So, all right, we'll have a good evening, and we'll talk again soon.
Yes, this has been Playing Favorites. I'm Paul,
and I'm Justin.
Goodbye.